Good evening and a very warm welcome to India Matters on Thursday night. The big story that we continue to track today is a week after the AI171 crash in Ahmedabad, we are still searching for answers. And that's why on tonight's show we lead with a piece of breaking news. The AI171 crash probe is our big story tonight. Sources have told NDTV that the AI171 black box that has been recovered from that 787 aircraft has sustained some level of damage. Now, remember, no decision has been taken yet on sending it abroad. This despite certain media reports suggesting that to be the case. The probe body, the Accident Investigation Board, will be deciding on the location for the analysis of the black box. There were media reports which said that it was possible that it will be sent abroad because it cannot be analyzed here in India owing to that damage. But the Civil Aviation Ministry has issued a statement today saying that all conditions of the black box are currently being tested for technology, for security, for safety, and only after that will a decision finally be taken. But what we know for sure is that the black box of this particular flight, which holds all the answers to what may have happened exactly 1 week ago, has sustained some damage. Maria Shakil, who broke parts of the story earlier today, is with me live. Maria, the Civil Aviation Ministry making it categorically clear that no decision has yet been taken. The black box is still being scrutinized to assess what the condition of it is at this point of time. So a technical study, safety, security considerations, all being looked at right now, and only post that will a decision be taken on whether it needs to be scrutinized here or elsewhere.
That's right, Shiv. That's what sources in the DGCA have been indicating clearly to NDTV, that yes, that there is a problem with the black box. Remember, black box is very key in piecing together as to what really happened in those last few moments before the crash. What was the reason of the crash will become clear only after the cockpit voice recorder and the data recorder are retrieved. The black box is damaged, although the black box, remember, Shiv, can actually manage a great degree of heat, and also it is capable of ensuring that the data which is there inside is safe. But now sources clearly saying that whether the black box data will be retrieved here in India or not, or whether it will be sent abroad, is not clear. At the moment, what we can confirm is that the safety, technical and security aspects of the black box is being reviewed, and then only they'll decide whether it can be retrieved here in India or whether it has to be sent abroad. But at the moment, no call has been taken. Okay,
no call has been taken just yet, and we have to trust the Accident Investigation Board on what decision needs to be taken by the government. Ultimately, we on NDTV will not be jumping the gun. Maria, thank you very much for bringing us that. Now, you're probably wondering, because the black box contains the crucial data, the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder record basically a full picture of what happened inside the aircraft, inside the cockpit, all parameters of that flight, which lasted all of 32 seconds, in addition to what happened on the ground. Now, step one, which details the sequence of what happens next, and I've put this together tonight, is, as we speak, like you heard Maria say, there is a technical inspection of the black box that is taking place right now by the Aviation Accident Investigation Board, that's the AAIB. Step number two, there is a safety inspection of the black box. Remember, it is a reinforced gadget or device, but it requires careful handling. Step number three, there are security considerations. One cannot simply send it abroad just like that. It is a piece of evidence in an accident that killed 241 people in the air and many people on the ground, and therefore there are security considerations around the black box, and therefore no decision can be taken lightly. And therefore, step number four, any government decision on whether the damage sustained by this black box means that it needs to be sent abroad for analysis because the Indian forensics laboratories are unable to access that data. That is a decision the government will take once a full assessment of that damage is made. And finally, the black box analysis, whether it happens in India or abroad, like I said, is a decision that will be taken. Probably it will take a few days, maybe even a few weeks for that to happen. And finally, step number 6, analysis will shape the final or interim crash report that finally comes out. So the cockpit voice audio, the flight digital and data recorder containing all parameters of the flight, that will finally shape what the crash report emerges as. As you heard our reporters and our coverage say, black boxes are incredibly survivable objects. They are capable of surviving extreme gravitational pressure. They are capable of sustaining extreme heat, depths in the ocean. Take just these 3 examples that I've picked out of how black boxes have been found in extreme conditions. In 2009, there was Air France Flight 447, which crashed into the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. It was found 2 years later at a depth of 3,900 meters. It is one of the most extreme situations in which a black box has been found. The result was the black box was miraculously intact and all data was preserved and helped nail the reason for that crash. Then there was the 1998 Swiss Air Flight 111 crash, again crashed into the Atlantic Ocean. The black box in this case was found to be severely damaged, but digital reconstruction allowed the investigation team to reconstruct what was contained in the black box, and therefore the investigation was completed successfully. More recently, Flight 610 of Lion Air in Indonesia, which crashed into the sea in 2018 in the Java Sea. The flight data recorder was found immediately, but the cockpit voice recorder took 2 months to find at great depths in the sea. The black box was found to be intact. It had sustained some damage, but that was fine. And the investigation did lead to one of the largest investigations in aviation history against Boeing. That was the first of 2 crashes of the Boeing 737 MAX. Now, what happens with the black box if it sustains some kind of damage, and what is the process by which it will be assessed whether India can analyze and interpret what's in the black box or whether it needs to be sent abroad? We have with us to help us sort of decode and understand how this works Captain M.R. Wadia, founder president of the Federation of Indian Pilots, and M.R. Sivaraman, DGCA and Additional Secretary, Ministry of Civil Aviation. He's a former member of both of those organizations. Captain Wadia, if I could come to you first, the black box, if it sustains a certain amount of damage, how long will it take to assess whether Indian investigators can retrieve the data here or whether it needs to be sent abroad, sir?
That, as you rightly said earlier, let the people who are doing the investigation decide as to what is the extent of damage. See, the external damage may not have damaged the internal data whatsoever. So that is a totally separate thing. And I think the people who are examining the black box are in a better position to decide whether it should be done in India or go abroad. That is of very little interest to any of us because the data will be available. Now, as far as the black box is concerned, all of us have been asking, the people have been asking, okay, since it has been retrieved, why can't we know what happened in the accident? Why can't we know what the pilot did? Why can't we know? So let me just give you a little bit of quality of the information and quantity of the information. First of all, the quality, whatever the aircraft does at any point in time, whatever the pilot does, if the nose is up, it is recorded. If the nose is down, as to how many degrees it is down, etc., everything is recorded totally. Which instrument is showing what? To give an example, let me elaborate a little bit. For example, if the aircraft needs to get more power, at what time, exactly at what time did the pilot open the throttle?
Yes.
At what extent did he open the throttle? How much did the throttle, how many degrees did it open? And at what stage, at what time did the engines start revving up? It may not be exactly the same. The engines take a long time for the power to develop. So at what stage, at how much power is developed, at what stage is also assessed. Furthermore, now what is important, if they have analyzed what is the power available, then they put it on the simulator to see in a normal aircraft, if this was the rate of climb with this power, how much did this aircraft generate? Was it actually, it will determine whether it is overloaded, not overloaded. So a hell of a lot of information can be assessed from this. So let's not jump to conclusions that since it is available, give us the new information.
I'm glad you said that, because this does take its own time, but there are of course concerns. There is a sense of urgency for sure, but the investigation must be allowed to do its job at the in the way that it's supposed to happen without any external pressure of any kind. Mr. Sivaraman, black boxes are constructed and built to sustain incredible amounts of damage. So even if this particular black box of AI171 has sustained some level of damage, there are examples in the past where data retrieval has been possible, sir. So even in a worst case scenario, and I don't want to assume things, we have reason to be confident that the data will have been preserved.
Yeah, of course. But there is one point which has been missed all through. And I think Captain Wadia will be able to support me on this. There is a technology by which a ground monitoring system can monitor real-time basis the entire information that is gathered in the DFDR. I wonder whether Air India has set up that facility here, because these facilities have been in existence. These technologies have been in existence since long, for decades. I know of it even when I was the DGCA here. Therefore, first of all, ask this question of Air India, whether they have set up a facility to monitor on real-time basis the information that is gathered in the DFDR in all their aircraft in flight. Why is it being done? It's being done because once they see there is some deficiency or some problem at the next port of call or the next airport where the aircraft lands, they will be ready with the spare parts or engineers necessary to correct the deficiency.
Yes.
So, Mr. Shivaru, please ask Air India whether they have got that facility.
We have,
if
sir.
they had that facility, they would have known what happened to that aircraft yesterday.
We did, Mr. Sivaraman, just to clarify on that, we have asked Air India, we have asked Boeing and Air India about this, but obviously in the midst of this investigation, no specific answers have come out because of obvious sensitivities. So I just wanted to clarify that. Carry on, sir.
Okay. Now the second point, as far as the DFDR data is concerned, I became DGCA after the Airbus 320 crash in Bangalore. I was forced to become DGCA. So at that particular point of time, when the DFDR data was decoded here, we flew that aircraft according to the DFDR data and found out what was a mistake within 7 days. So it is possible, as Captain Wadia said, that as soon as you get the information from the DFDR data, we would be able to establish the reason for this crash. As far as the CVR is concerned, I haven't seen any report that CVR has been damaged. So it should be possible to recover at least the CVR data, the last few moments of conversation between the pilot and the co-pilot. And as far as carrying this DFDR abroad is concerned, it was done in my time also in the case of one aircraft because most of it had been damaged. So it had to be reconstructed.
Yeah.
And this facility was available at that time only in Russia. But now probably it will be available in NTSB in USA also. And it should be possible to reconstruct the data even if the DFDR inside film has been damaged.
Captain Wadia, you want to add to that, to the points that Mrs. Sivaraman has made?
He's absolutely right.
Yeah.
There is provision. However, the quantity of data is so huge on the DFDR that all of it is not able to be downloaded to immediately. But some defects in the engines or defects in some parts, etc., are available and that can be rectified. So the amount is huge just now. But I think what we specialists are more bothered about is whether we'll get a true assessment from the people who are doing the investigation. First of all, as I've indicated earlier, I'm not at all happy. The head of the investigation board is a secretary, a bureaucrat from the government. That is certainly not acceptable. All over the world, all accidents, serious and small, slight accidents, are investigated by professionals. And not just by any pilot or any lawyer or judge also. There are people who are trained in accident analysis, and it's a huge science, and which is almost deficient in India. We do not have people who are trained in accident analysis and are practicing accident analysis, which is prevalent all over the world. But however, I'm glad that so many agencies are involved today, so it will be difficult for anyone to hide or suppress any information. Boeing is involved, the government of America is involved, the UK is involved, India is involved,
Yes.
and a lot of other agencies are involved. Therefore, it will be very difficult to suppress. But when it can be suppressed, it will be. Please understand that. I'll give you two examples. In India, also, when the DGCA was required to investigate, they didn't want to investigate and they didn't do it. Even after the order of the Bombay High Court to do an investigation, they did not do it. So that is the arrogance of power. When you have authority and power, you can get away with anything.
Okay.
Also, I'll give you another small example. People who's like Boeing will be bothered about their own reputation, and so they may try to. Therefore, I'll give you another example. From Germany, people who are actually doing the investigation have sent me an email directly, which I'm aware, which is with me also, which says, however, although we are aware of the full implications of this incident, we have to protect our own interests also. So everyone tries to protect his own interests, but since it's a very wide place, it's very difficult to suppress any evidence.
Okay. Very quickly, Mr. Sivaraman, I'm almost out of time. What does this accident seem like to you? You know, while we wait for the investigation itself, there are two crash videos. You've seen what's been said so far. What do you think happened, sir?
It's very difficult to make any wild guess, as I have seen a couple of accidents during my period. One in Palam, TU-154, which crashed, which landed upside down, but fortunately all the passengers were safe. And the other one was, of course, the Bangalore crash. And the third one was an aircraft which went into the mountains in Imphal. I've been there to Imphal site also. It was about 3,000 feet above the sea level where it crashed. See, it's extremely difficult to come to any conclusion because all pilots are given good chits to both the pilot and the co-pilot. So pilot error, usually the errors are pinned on the pilot. In this particular case, I wonder whether that could be done. My own feeling is there must have been something really wrong as far as the engines are concerned. Either the fuel supply got cut off for some reason or there has been an electrical system failure. Okay. I've also been a pilot. I've studied all these manuals thanks to Mr. Wadia and others. They have made me fly all these aircraft when I was DGCA. I wonder whether any DGCA now takes interest in going to the simulator and trying to fly the aircraft. These pilots taught me how to fly, knowing well that I will use it against them when an opportunity arises. But I thank all of them to make me fly at 747, 310, every aircraft I have flown. And every engineering manual I had studied, I had sat with them in the hangars and worked with the mechanics also. But in this particular case, one important question that should have been asked, maybe it has been asked, who certified the aircraft for flight? Because there is a certificate given by the engineer that all the systems are go condition and the pilot accepts that. Okay. Thereafter, of course, he carries out his own checks. But then there is a certificate which is given by the engineer who certifies the aircraft. And this particular aircraft has landed a few hours before or something from a London flight. So some engineer would have certified.
Let us hope, sir.
Has been interrogated, we do not.
Let us hope that this question and many of the others will be answered soon. We will wait for the process to carry itself out, but there is a sense of urgency over what happened and people will want answers, and we will continue to ask the questions and report the facts. Thank you very much, Captain Wadia and Mr. Sivaraman, for joining me here on India Matters.